In modern life, we constantly face countless stressful situations, endless external stimuli, and complex internal emotions. A careless word, an unexpected event, or someone else's action can instantly trigger us to react impulsively, lose control, and sometimes cause consequences we later regret. Many people feel overwhelmed by their emotions as if they have completely lost control over their thoughts and actions. However, there is a profound truth taught by ancient Stoic philosophy. True power doesn't lie in preventing emotions from arising, but in choosing not to react impulsively to them. Between stimulus and response, there is a small but powerful space. A space where you have the freedom to decide how you act, think, and feel. That space is the key to emotional control and maintaining calmness in all situations. When you know how to create and sustain this space, you no longer get trapped in the whirlwind of negative emotions, hurtful words, or unexpected challenges of life. Instead, you can choose a wiser, more proactive response that aligns with your values and goals. Stoicism emphasizes that while we cannot control everything that happens around us, we can fully control how we respond to it. This is the power of not reacting impulsively. When you keep calm, you preserve precious energy and master your mind instead of letting your mind master you. In today's video, we will explore the art of emotional mastery through timeless Stoic lessons and principles. You will gain a deeper understanding of how emotions work, how to recognize your emotional triggers that often operate unconsciously, and how to resist reacting impulsively while maintaining clarity and composure. We'll learn to listen to our bodies as an early warning system, noticing physical signs like tension, a rapid heartbeat, or shallow breathing, so we can pause before reacting. This is the first step in mastering emotions, helping you avoid harmful reactions and build sustainable self-control habits. Moreover, we will dive into the power of mindfulness, being fully present in each moment, and how to apply it daily to increase awareness of your emotions and thoughts. Practicing mindfulness not only reduces negative reactions, but also enhances self-awareness, allowing you to see yourself and the world more objectively and clearly. Equally important, this video will teach you how to develop deep self-awareness. Learn to name your emotions and accept them, rather than deny or avoid them. Recognizing your emotions is essential to prevent being controlled by them and to handle them healthily and effectively. We will also explore the art of reframing negative thoughts, breaking free from cycles of self-defeating inner stories that worsen our pain. You will learn to view situations through a more positive and realistic lens, enabling you to respond more appropriately. The video highlights the importance of compassion both for others and for yourself as a way to soothe negative emotions and build healthy, sustainable relationships. Compassion helps us forgive, empathize, and live more fully in each moment. Finally, you will be inspired to realize that taking responsibility for your emotions and responses is the greatest power, freeing you from blame and loss of control, and stepping into life with autonomy, peace, and clear purpose. If you have ever felt overwhelmed by your emotions, lost control of your actions, or regretted impulsive reactions, this is the video you need. Join me on the journey to mastering your emotions, the true power to live a peaceful, clear-minded, and meaningful life. 1. The power of silence in reaction. Silence in reaction is not merely about keeping quiet or saying nothing. It is an inner strength, an essential skill that helps us control emotions and maintain calm amid surging waves of feelings. In today's fast-paced society, where information and reactions happen instantaneously, Practicing silence can be rare, yet incredibly valuable. The power of silence lies in its ability to create space between stimulus and response. When you choose silence, you don't let emotions impulsively dictate your actions. Instead, you give yourself time to think, observe your feelings, and select a response with clarity and wisdom. Stoic philosophy emphasizes that it is not events or others' words that hurt you, but how you react to them. Silence is a way to hold control, to avoid being dragged into cycles of conflict or negativity, and thus maintain peace within. Silence also reflects self-control and wisdom. When you know when to be silent, you send a message that you are not easily swayed, that you are strong and mature. It is a way to avoid causing additional stress or harm to yourself and others. In reality, many conflicts and misunderstandings stem from hasty words, angry reactions, or uncontrolled arguments. By embracing silence, we can break the cycle of tension, reduce conflicts, and create space for clearer thinking. Practicing silence doesn't mean avoiding or denying problems. Rather, it is a wise choice to stay calm and observe objectively. In silence, you can listen better, understand more deeply, and find more effective solutions. Moreover, silence is a way to nurture inner strength. In moments of silence, the mind rests, emotions balance, and energy renews. This is when you reconnect with yourself with stillness and inner freedom. To develop the power of silence, you can start with simple habits. Pause before speaking. Take deep breaths when stressed, or spend daily time in meditation. Over time, you will realize that silence not only helps you control your emotions, but also enhances the quality of your relationships and life. Finally, remember that silence is power. The power of someone who masters themselves, of someone mature in thought and action. Do not fear silence, for it may be the strongest answer to life's most complex situations. 2. Understanding emotional triggers. Emotional triggers are external or internal stimuli that provoke strong emotional reactions, often disproportionate to the situation. These triggers can be words, actions, circumstances, or even memories that awaken feelings like anger, sadness, fear, or pain within you. Understanding emotional triggers is the first and crucial step toward controlling your emotional responses. Only when you recognize what causes these intense reactions can you handle them with calmness and control. Many emotional triggers stem from personal experiences, unresolved wounds, or false beliefs about yourself and the world. For example, if you have been betrayed before, even small acts of dishonesty can trigger an intense emotional response. Identifying emotional triggers isn't just about knowing what makes me angry, but understanding why it affects you so deeply. This requires self-observation, self-awareness, and a non-judgmental attitude toward your feelings when they arise. Stoic philosophy teaches us that while we cannot control every stimulus or event outside, we can control how we respond. By clearly understanding your emotional triggers, you can create a space between stimulus and reaction, preventing emotions from driving impulsive actions. An effective way to identify triggers is to keep an emotion journal. Whenever you experience a strong emotional reaction, write down the context-associated thoughts and your feelings. Over time, patterns will emerge, situations, people, or topics that often trigger you and how they impact your emotions. Pay attention to physical reactions accompanying emotions. Rapid heartbeat, muscle tension, shortness of breath, or a surge of anger. These signals are your warning system, alerting you that a trigger is active and you need to pause and reconsider. Once you understand your emotional triggers, you can apply various techniques to manage them: deep breathing, pausing before reacting, practicing mindfulness to observe emotions without being swept away, and reframing negative thoughts into more positive, realistic perspectives. Understanding and managing emotional triggers not only reduces stress and conflict in relationships, but also fosters self-control, inner peace, and resilience in facing challenges. Remember, emotional triggers are natural and experienced by everyone. The key is not to avoid them, but to learn to recognize and manage them so they don't control your life. This is part of the journey toward emotional intelligence and spiritual maturity, emphasized by Stoic philosophy. 3. Listening to your body. The emotional alarm system. The body is one of the most vital tools for recognizing and managing emotions, a sophisticated alarm system that constantly signals when the mind and emotions are triggered or out of balance. Listening to your body is not just about observing physical signs, but is a crucial step in mastering emotional responses and maintaining inner peace. When you experience a strong emotion, especially negative ones, such as stress, anger, fear, or anxiety, your body immediately reacts with clear signals like a racing heart, rapid breathing muscle, tension, cold sweats, or a restless feeling. These are your body's natural warning sirens that alert you to your emotional state before your mind fully registers it. However, in today's fast-paced life, many people tend to ignore or fail to recognize these signals, resulting in impulsive and uncontrolled emotional reactions. Practicing listening to your body helps you create the necessary space between emotion and action, allowing for wiser and more appropriate responses. Stoic philosophy emphasizes that self-mastery begins with understanding oneself, and the body is an essential gateway to connect with the inner world. By recognizing physical alarm signs, you can pause, take a deep breath, and observe your emotions instead of being controlled by them. Some effective methods for tuning into your body include breath-focused meditation, yoga, and muscle relaxation techniques. These practices increase awareness of bodily states and help detect stress or negative emotions early. Additionally, recording and tracking physical symptoms related to emotions in a journal can be a valuable tool. Through this, you can identify recurring patterns triggering situations and how your body reacts, allowing you to develop appropriate coping strategies. Listening to your body also enhances your ability to self-regulate emotions effectively. When you notice alarm signs, you can employ slow breathing, muscle relaxation, or shift your thoughts to calm down. This reduces the risk of impulsive reactions and keeps your mind clear and composed. Finally, developing a deep connection with your body is an essential part of mental healing. When you learn to understand and care for your body, you simultaneously nurture inner peace and strengthen mental resilience. Remember, your body is always sending important signals, and choosing to listen or ignore these signals will determine how you experience and manage your emotions. Listening to your body is not only about awareness, but also about loving and respecting yourself. The first step toward living a fuller, more meaningful life. 4. Creating space before reacting. In daily life, we often get swept away by immediate emotional reactions to stimuli from our environment. A hurtful word, an undesired action, or even sudden stressful situations can trigger impulsive reactions without time to think or consider consequences. However, Stoic philosophy and psychological research both emphasize that the space between stimulus and response is a precious moment where we can consciously choose how to act with calmness and control. This space is not about procrastination or avoidance, but a temporary pause to observe emotions, thoughts, and analyze the situation before acting. Creating this space helps prevent negative reactions such as anger, impatience, or stress, which can harm relationships and mental health. One of the simplest and most effective ways to create this space is through slow, deep breathing. When emotions surge, focus on your breath. Inhale slowly, hold for a few seconds, and exhale gradually. This technique soothes the nervous system, reduces psychological pressure, and restores calmness. Creating space can also mean stopping to objectively assess the situation and asking yourself, "What's the best response for me right now?" Or how can I respond in a way that doesn't harm anyone and preserves my peace? These questions help shift from a reactive to a proactive mindset in emotional control. Stoicism teaches that between events and responses lies a gap where we have the power to choose. Marcus Aurelius wrote that wisdom lies in not letting external stimuli control the mind, but maintaining distance and thoughtful reflection before acting. Creating space before reacting helps avoid unnecessary conflicts and builds long-term emotional regulation habits. Over time, you become more composed and resilient in stressful situations, no longer driven by impulsive feelings. Additionally, this space is an opportunity to deepen self-awareness. In this silent moment, you can better understand yourself and the true causes of emotions, enabling more effective management. Developing this habit requires patience and consistent practice. You can start by pausing for a few seconds before answering a difficult question or joining a debate. Over time, this becomes a natural reflex, helping you better control yourself in any circumstance. Finally, remember that creating space is not a sign of weakness or avoidance, but an expression of maturity, strength, and wisdom. This moment of pause is where you master your mind and make a difference in how you face the world and its challenges. 5. Practicing daily mindfulness. Mindfulness is a powerful and effective technique that helps individuals enhance self-awareness and deepen their connection with the surrounding world. Practicing mindfulness daily not only improves emotional regulation, but also brings lasting peace, clarity, and mental well-being. The concept of mindfulness originates from Eastern meditation traditions, but has now become widely accepted in modern psychology as a valuable tool for mental and overall health. Mindfulness is the state of being fully awake, aware, and present in the current moment without judgment or labeling of thoughts and emotions as they arise. You can begin practicing mindfulness with very simple activities, such as focusing on your breath, feeling each inhale and exhale flowing through your body. When your mind wanders, gently bring your attention back to your breath without self-criticism or trying to change it. Additionally, mindfulness can be applied to everyday activities such as walking, eating, or working. Simply fully focus on what you are doing, notice your senses, and observe any thoughts or feelings without becoming entangled in them. One of the great benefits of mindfulness is that it allows you to better recognize and manage negative emotions. When you practice mindfulness, you can observe emotions as they arise without immediately reacting. This creates a vital space between feeling and action, enabling you to choose your response wisely. Scientific research also shows that regular mindfulness practice reduces stress and anxiety while improving overall health. It activates brain regions responsible for emotional self-regulation and enhances concentration. To build a daily mindfulness habit, start by dedicating a few minutes each day to mindfulness meditation, beginning with short sessions and gradually increasing duration. Consistent practice will develop deep awareness and mastery over the mind. Besides meditation, you can use mindfulness apps, read guides, or attend courses to strengthen this skill. Remember, mindfulness is not about avoiding or suppressing emotions, but about accepting and dealing with them more effectively. Practicing mindfulness helps you remain calm in difficult situations and expands your ability to understand yourself and others, fostering deeper connections and healthier relationships. Finally, remember that mindfulness is a long-term journey requiring patience and consistent practice. Every day you commit to mindfulness is a meaningful step towards personal growth and finding true peace within. 6. Cultivating deep self-awareness. Deep self-awareness is one of the most vital skills that help us master our emotions, thoughts, and actions. It goes beyond surface-level self-knowledge to the ability to see through the inner layers of the soul, recognizing recurring patterns of behavior, emotions, and underlying motives that influence how you react to the world. Cultivating self-awareness begins with non-judgmental observation. When you learn to observe yourself, your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors in every moment, you create a space between yourself and your experiences. This space prevents automatic reactions and enables you to consciously choose your actions. One of the most effective tools to develop self-awareness is journaling. By recording your emotions and thoughts daily, you gradually identify recurring behavioral patterns, frequently arising emotions, and the deep root causes of stress or pain. Self-awareness also helps you recognize your emotional triggers, situations, or others' actions that provoke strong reactions. Understanding this empowers you to proactively manage your emotions and avoid negative responses. Stoic philosophy emphasizes the importance of self-observation and maintaining an objective attitude toward oneself. Marcus Aurelius famously said that we are not the events that happen to us, but the observer who chooses how to respond to them. Beyond observation, understanding your values, life goals, and beliefs is a crucial part of self-awareness. When these are clear, you make decisions and act in alignment with them, avoiding being swept away by fleeting emotions or external pressures. To cultivate self-awareness, you need to spend time in stillness meditation, or at least pause to reflect on your experiences. Daily mindfulness practice greatly supports this process by helping you focus and avoid being distracted by negative or chaotic thoughts. Deep self-awareness is not a goal achieved overnight, but a long-term journey. Through each experience, you gain a clearer understanding of yourself, identifying strengths and weaknesses, and growing sustainably and meaningfully. With cultivated self-awareness, you become more resilient in facing challenges, learning to regulate your emotions and actions appropriately to situations and personal values. It also enables you to build healthy relationships based on mutual understanding and respect. Ultimately, deep self-awareness leads to true inner peace, a state where you are not swept away by emotions or external circumstances, but maintain calmness and freedom within your soul. 7. Naming and accepting emotions. Emotions are a natural and essential part of the human experience. However, many people struggle to face and manage their emotions healthily, resulting in negative reactions or prolonged mental stress. One of the foundational yet powerful steps to mastering emotions is naming the emotion and accepting its presence. Naming emotions may seem simple, but it carries extraordinary power. When you can accurately identify what you are feeling, whether anger, sadness, anxiety, disappointment, or any other emotion, you create clear awareness and a necessary distance between yourself and that emotion. This distance prevents being overwhelmed and instead enables you to manage and process it. Psychology calls this process labeling. Research shows that simply recognizing and naming emotions can reduce stress levels and negative reactions, allowing the brain to process emotions more effectively. By naming emotions, you shift from being passively controlled by feelings to actively controlling them. Accepting emotions is equally important. Many tend to avoid, suppress, or deny negative feelings because they perceive them as weaknesses or nuisances. But in reality, acceptance, acknowledging the emotion, exists without resisting it. It reduces internal tension and opens the path to healthy emotional processing. Stoic philosophy emphasizes that emotions are not enemies, but signals that require understanding and management. Denying or fighting emotions only increases suffering and imbalance. Conversely, learning to embrace emotions as natural parts of life makes you more resilient and free. A simple practice for naming and accepting emotions is when a strong feeling arises, pause and ask yourself, "What am I feeling?" Try to label the emotion as specifically and honestly as possible. For example, I am angry, I am sad, or I am anxious. Then allow yourself to experience it without judgment or attempts to change or eliminate it. This practice builds long-term self-awareness and emotional regulation skills. You no longer feel trapped or controlled by negative emotions, but maintain calmness and clarity to face and handle them effectively. Furthermore, naming and accepting emotions improve your relationships. When you understand and master your feelings, it becomes easier to communicate, listen, and empathize with others' emotions, fostering deeper connection and compassion. Finally, remember that naming and accepting emotions is not a one-time task, but an ongoing journey. Emotions fluctuate and arise unexpectedly, so maintaining this habit daily helps develop spiritual maturity and become a better version of yourself. 8. Reframing. Negative thoughts. Negative thoughts are an inevitable part of the human experience. However, if left unchecked, these thoughts can trap us in cycles of anxiety, stress, and confusion. One of the most powerful tools to break free from this negativity loop is reframing, the art of shifting the way we perceive and evaluate a situation toward a more positive and realistic perspective. Reframing does not mean denying or pretending everything is perfect. Instead, it is a conscious choice to view things from a new angle, finding positive meaning or valuable lessons in challenges and difficulties. When you change your perspective, you change not only your emotions but also your behavior and reactions, improving your quality of life. For example, when facing failure, instead of thinking "I'm terrible and will never succeed," you can reframe it as failure is an opportunity to learn and grow. This new thought empowers you and motivates you to keep trying. Stoic philosophy teaches that events themselves do not control our emotions. It is our interpretation of those events that does. Therefore, changing the way you think is a critical step in mastering your mind and preventing negative emotions from taking over. To practice reframing effectively, you must first identify your negative thoughts. Ask yourself, "What am I thinking? Are these thoughts true and beneficial?" This questioning helps you pause and not accept negative thoughts unconditionally. Next, try to find alternative, more positive and realistic viewpoints. For instance, If you feel rejected at work or in a relationship, instead of thinking I'm not good enough, think this is an opportunity to improve my skills and find a better fit. Such shifts prevent despair and loss of direction. Additionally, you can apply journaling techniques by writing down negative thoughts and then rewriting them in more positive ways. This strengthens the habit of reframing and enhances your awareness of your thinking patterns. Reframing also helps develop empathy for others. When you see situations from multiple perspectives, you better understand and sympathize with others' actions and feelings, fostering healthier and more sustainable relationships. It is important to remember that reframing is a skill requiring regular practice. You won't always instantly switch negative thoughts to positive ones, but with time and persistence, you will become more adept, and your mind will become flexible and resilient in the face of challenges. Ultimately, changing the way you think not only helps control emotions, but also opens the door to personal growth and lasting happiness. By choosing a positive perspective, you create a life with more opportunities, less stress, and more positive energy to move forward. 9. Practicing empathy and compassion. In the journey of mastering emotions and personal growth, empathy and compassion play indispensable roles. These two qualities enable us to connect more deeply with ourselves and others, creating a life filled with meaning and peace. Empathy is the ability to put yourself in another person's shoes, to feel their pain, joy, and experiences without judgment or interruption. When you practice empathy, you not only understand others better but also expand your heart, reduce loneliness, and build strong bonds. Compassion is love, care, and willingness to help others, especially those who are struggling or suffering. It is not only an outward action, but also a state of mind, a way of living oriented toward kindness and understanding. Practicing empathy and compassion helps you regulate negative emotions like anger, hatred, and envy. Instead, you approach situations with gentleness, understanding, and tolerance. Empathy and compassion improve personal relationships and have positive effects on mental health. Numerous studies show that people who regularly express compassion experience lower stress levels, more positive moods, and stronger immune systems. Stoic philosophy teaches that empathy and compassion are expressions of true maturity and inner strength. Marcus Aurelius emphasized that we should treat others as inseparable parts of ourselves, because all are interconnected in the vast universe. To practice empathy, start by truly listening when others speak without interrupting or judging. Try to see issues from their perspective and ask questions to deeply understand their emotions and circumstances. Compassion can also be nurtured through small but meaningful actions like helping those in need, spending time caring for loved ones, or simply smiling and being kind to strangers. At the same time, don't forget to be compassionate toward yourself. Practicing forgiveness, accepting mistakes, and loving yourself are foundations that enable you to genuinely and sustainably spread love to others. Finally, remember that empathy and compassion are not traits gained overnight, but the result of practice, patience, and mindfulness in daily actions. When you live with an open heart, you not only help others but also enrich your own life. 10. Taking full responsibility for your reactions. One of the most important factors in mastering oneself in life is the ability to take full responsibility for your reactions. This means recognizing that although you cannot control every event or action of others, you have complete authority over how you respond to them. Taking responsibility for your reactions is not just about admitting fault when you are wrong, but about the clear awareness that you have the power to choose how to feel and act. When you understand this, you no longer blame circumstances, others, or external factors to justify negative reactions or loss of control. Stoic philosophy especially emphasizes that true power comes from mastering your responses. Marcus Aurelius once said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you perceive it that disturbs you." By taking responsibility for your reactions, you step into the role of the master of your life instead of the victim of circumstances. This ability cultivates self-control and inner freedom. You are no longer swayed by emotions or social pressures, but maintain calmness and clarity in all situations. Instead of being overwhelmed by feelings, you learn to observe, assess, and choose appropriate reactions. Accepting responsibility is also the first step toward building healthy and sustainable relationships. When you stop blaming or resenting others for difficulties or conflicts, you open opportunities for sincere communication and constructive problem solving. To practice taking responsibility for your reactions, you first need to cultivate self-awareness. When strong emotions arise, pause and ask yourself, what am I feeling? Why do I feel this way? What choices can I make that benefit both myself and others? Next, practice controlling your actions through techniques such as deep breathing, pausing before speaking or acting, and mindfulness to maintain clarity. Most importantly, understand that taking responsibility does not mean you must control everything or impose perfection on yourself. It is the acknowledgement that you have choices in your responses, and these choices determine the quality of your life. Over time, with consistent practice, you will find yourself stronger and more flexible in all situations, able to create a positive impact on yourself and those around you. Finally, taking responsibility for your reactions is an ongoing journey, not a destination. It requires self-observation, patience, and self-respect. Yet from this journey you will find true freedom from being controlled by impulsive emotions and freedom to live a meaningful and peaceful life. 11. Letting go of the burdens of ego, pride, and resentment. In the journey toward inner peace and spiritual growth, letting go of the burdens of ego, pride, and resentment is a crucial yet challenging step. These elements often become heavy chains that prevent us from living freely, happily, and in control of our lives. The ego is the part of self-identity based on image, status, and possessions. When the ego becomes oversized, it turns into arrogance, selfishness, and stubbornness. Pride relates to ego but focuses on self-esteem and public image, making us vulnerable and reactive when challenged. Resentment is a prolonged negative emotion fueled by anger and desire for revenge, weakening our spirit and affecting our health. Letting go does not mean giving up or weakness. It is a wise choice to free yourself from mental shackles. When you release an oversized ego, life feels lighter, and you more readily accept and adapt to change. Pride often drives us to prove ourselves, compare, and maintain face, whereas letting go of pride helps us live authentically, free from external pressures and fears of judgment. This brings great freedom and improves relationship quality. Resentment is one of the most toxic emotions, draining your energy and happiness. Letting go of resentment is not just forgiving others but liberating yourself. When you release it, you erase emotional wounds and create space for peace and love to grow. Stoic philosophy teaches that we should not let ego, pride, or resentment dominate our lives. Marcus Aurelius said that wise people recognize their smallness in the vast universe, thereby letting go of unnecessary attachments to live serenely and harmoniously. To practice letting go, clearly identify when ego, pride, or resentment takes over your mind. Ask yourself, is this worth my suffering, and can I choose a gentler, different way? You should also practice forgiveness, not for others, but for yourself. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or condoning wrongdoing, but refusing to let negative emotions rule your life. Letting go is an ongoing process requiring patience and self-respect. Each time you recognize and release stubbornness, you move closer to true freedom and peace. Ultimately, letting go of ego, pride, and resentment is the path back to your true nature, living with an open heart, compassion, and wholeness. This is the way to lasting happiness and freedom. 12. Building healthy boundaries and clear communication. Building healthy boundaries and clear communication are essential factors for protecting mental health, maintaining sustainable relationships, and developing self-mastery in life. Boundaries help you define what you accept and do not accept in relationships, while expressing respect for yourself and others. Boundaries are limits you set emotionally, physically, and psychologically to keep yourself safe and comfortable. When you establish clear boundaries, you prevent negative external influences like social pressure, over-involvement, or inappropriate behavior. Clear communication goes hand in hand with boundaries because if you don't express your limits directly and respectfully, others will not understand or respect you. Effective communication reduces misunderstandings, enhances empathy, and fosters positive relationship growth. One of the biggest challenges in setting boundaries is guilt or fear of hurting others. However, Stoic philosophy emphasizes that respecting yourself is not selfish, but necessary for a meaningful and balanced life. You cannot please everyone, but you can live honestly and fully with yourself. To build healthy boundaries, you need to clarify your values, needs, and personal limits. Reflect on what makes you comfortable and what makes you feel invaded or hurt. From this, you gain the basis to say no when necessary and protect your personal space. Communicating boundaries should be clear, direct, yet respectful and gentle. You can use phrases like, "I feel uncomfortable when," or "I require some personal space to help others understand you without causing conflict. Additionally, listening to and respecting others' boundaries is equally important. Healthy relationships are built on mutual support and respect, where both parties know how to set and maintain appropriate limits. Practicing boundary building and clear communication is not easy and requires patience and training. You can start with small daily situations and gradually extend to more significant relationships. Finally, remember that boundaries are tools to protect your mental health and quality of life. When you learn to safeguard yourself with appropriate limits, you live freer, calmer, and can give love more fully. 13. Managing stress and anxiety with practical tools. Stress and anxiety are common psychological states that most people experience in modern life. They can stem from work relationships or daily pressures, and if not effectively managed, can lead to serious physical and mental health consequences. To manage stress and anxiety effectively, applying practical, accessible, and personalized tools is essential. One of the simplest and most effective tools is deep breathing and mindfulness. Focusing on your breath, inhaling deeply and exhaling slowly, activates the parasympathetic nervous system, helping the body relax and reducing stress signals. Additionally, daily meditation is an effective method to calm the mind, enhance emotional regulation, and increase awareness. Meditation helps you recognize early signs of stress and handle them more calmly. Proper planning and time management are crucial tools for reducing anxiety. When you have good control over your work and personal life, you avoid feelings of overwhelm and confusion, thus minimizing stress. Regular physical exercise plays a significant role in stress reduction. Physical activity releases endorphins, the body's natural happiness hormones, while improving sleep quality and overall health. Social support is indispensable. Sharing and talking with family, friends, or mental health professionals helps release emotions and gain new perspectives to handle stressful situations. Moreover, building healthy habits such as balanced nutrition, adequate sleep, and avoiding stimulants supports the body and mind in combating stress more effectively. It is important to remember that each person may react differently to stress and anxiety, so choosing and combining suitable tools is essential. Experiment to find the methods that work best for you and practice consistently. Finally, managing stress and anxiety does not mean eliminating these feelings, but learning to coexist and control them so they do not negatively impact your life and health. 14. Embracing imperfection and practicing self-compassion. In life, many people fall into the trap of chasing perfection, an unrealistic ideal that often leads to stress, self-criticism, and dissatisfaction. Embracing imperfection not only reduces pressure, but also opens the way for greater self-growth and self-love. Embracing imperfection means recognizing that humans, including yourself, have limits and mistakes are inevitable parts of growth. Instead of blaming or denying flaws, you learn to see them as natural and necessary elements that help you learn and improve. Practicing self-compassion is the next step in accepting yourself. Self-compassion is the ability to treat yourself with kindness, forgiveness, and understanding when facing difficulties or failures, much like how you would treat a dear friend going through challenges. Scientific studies have shown that self-compassion can reduce stress, improve mental health, and build emotional resilience. When you practice self-compassion, you lessen negative self-talk and strengthen healthy self-esteem. Stoic philosophy also emphasizes acceptance of reality and growth through adversity. Marcus Aurelius said that life doesn't always go as planned, and accepting this is true strength. Some ways to practice embracing imperfection and self-compassion include gratitude, journaling, loving kindness, meditation metta, and repeating positive affirmations such as "I deserve love, even though I am imperfect." When you learn to accept yourself, you reduce unhealthy comparisons with others and avoid unnecessary guilt or shame. You become freer and can focus on cultivating the positive aspects of life. Additionally, self-compassion helps you face failures and difficulties more gently, increasing your ability to recover and continue your personal development journey. Finally, remember that embracing imperfection and practicing self-compassion is an ongoing process requiring patience and regular practice. But through this process, you will find lasting peace and happiness within your soul. 15. Developing a growth mindset and emotional balance. Growth mindset is a key concept introduced by psychologist Carol Dweck, reflecting the belief that human abilities and intelligence can be developed through effort, learning, and perseverance. Cultivating this mindset plays a crucial role in building emotional balance and adaptability to life's challenges. With a growth mindset, you do not see failure or mistakes as the end, but as opportunities to learn and improve. This helps maintain perseverance and optimism even in difficult times, reducing negative emotional reactions such as anxiety, discouragement, or low self-esteem. Emotional balance is the ability to recognize, regulate, and adjust your emotions effectively to keep your mood stable and appropriate for situations. When you combine a growth mindset with emotional balance, you can navigate stress and pressure while maintaining clarity and composure. One way to develop a growth mindset is to shift your perspective about yourself and the world. Instead of thinking, "I can't do this," tell yourself, "I can learn and improve if I try." This positive and proactive thinking expands your potential and creates strong motivation. Emotional balance is also supported by techniques like mindfulness, deep breathing, and meditation, which help you observe emotions as they arise without being unconsciously controlled by them. This allows for more flexible and appropriate reactions across different scenarios. Stoic philosophy encourages focusing on what you can control, including your thoughts and emotions, while letting go of what is beyond reach. Accepting reality with a growth mindset and emotional balance grants inner freedom and the ability to face any challenge. Furthermore, developing a growth mindset helps foster healthier relationships. When you approach yourself and others with a learning attitude and openness, you become more empathetic, forgiving, and cooperative. To practice a growth mindset and emotional balance, start by asking yourself, "What can I learn from this situation, and how can I adjust my emotions to respond more effectively?" Maintaining reflective questioning helps build positive thinking habits and emotional regulation. Finally, remember that developing a growth mindset and emotional balance is an ongoing process. Each day and step forward is progress on the path of maturity and self-mastery, leading to a more meaningful and fulfilling life. We have journeyed through many valuable principles from Stoic philosophy, mastering emotions, developing a growth mindset, nurturing compassion, and setting healthy boundaries. Each principle is not just a theory, but a practical tool to live a more peaceful, meaningful, and fulfilling life. This journey is not easy, nor is it short. It requires patience, practice, and constant awareness in every moment you choose how to react, think, and live. Yet from these small choices you create profound changes in your life. Remember, peace and happiness do not come from outside, but from mastering your inner world, controlling emotions and thoughts. When you cultivate resilience, compassion, and responsibility for yourself, you not only live better but also radiate positive energy to those around you. I challenge you to start today, right now, with a small but powerful decision. Recognize and take responsibility for how you react to every challenge. Practice self-compassion and forgiveness toward yourself and others. Build healthy boundaries and communicate clearly. And, most importantly, nurture a growth mindset and emotional balance every day. Do not wait for circumstances to change or for others to help you. The power to transform your life lies in your hands through each thought and action you choose. Every day is a new opportunity to become the best version of yourself. If you find these principles valuable, please share this video with your loved ones. Let the inspiration spread and build a community of positive, strong, and responsible individuals. Thank you for accompanying and listening. Wishing you a meaningful journey of growth, peace, and success.